The Bridge with Simone, Amelia
and Nate Wade.
So you did an interview with ABC Radio, and it was mentioned that you were run out of town by local police when you were younger. What's that story?
I was brutalised by them, so it was, you know, whether you were run out of town or brutalised out of town. But I've always maintained that when I came to Sydney, I came as a political refugee, and I've never said otherwise from that time that I got here. It was a horrible experience. I was hit in the head 56 times by police, and then all those crimes they were accusing me of, they found another guy outside that had committed those crimes. They were out having a smoke, and another officer said, "Look, I found the bloke that did all them break and enters," and they come in and said, "Well, you can piss off now. It's not you." And when I got home, my old uncle was, he said, "What's happened to you?" And I said, "I just got into a fight over town." And he said, "No, you didn't just get into a fight over town. That's not just a fight over town."
That looked like a phone book beating.
Even though I couldn't fight, he reckoned that wasn't just a fight over town.
How old were you at the time?
Just over, nearly 15, under 15.
And that was in Redfern?
No, in Nyngan.
Oh, this was in your... Okay, right.
Yeah. And the reason I know it was 56 times is there was 28 crimes, and they went through the crimes twice. And every time I said no, the young constable would push me forward.
Right.
And the old sergeant punched me back into the chair. And so that happened, and then an old white man found out that what had happened, and he came around home and he said, "If you stay in this town, they'll kill you." And so I had no reason to doubt that after that.
Yeah.
And he gave me 2 days' work and $20, which was a lot of money, it was a fortune at that time, and said, "Leave town." So that's what I did.
And then you ended up on Elizabeth Street.
Ended up on Elizabeth Street, ended up in Redfern, then ended up over at Narrabeen. And
so how was the policing there now? Where
I wouldn't have a clue now.
You haven't, okay.
I feel really funny about it, even though I've got very strong family connection because it's my mum's country.
Yeah.
I do really associate with Brewarrina because that's where my father's from.
Yeah.
And I rarely stop in Nyngan. Okay. You know, rarely.
Yeah.
Oh, the memories.
Yeah,
are
I guess.
greatest.
Yeah, they're not. It's just I don't feel comfortable there anymore. And,
right.
You know, so yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but that's life. You know, you move on. And
did they ever get?
No, we talking about the
No. I stopped myself. I stopped myself. But we talk about that on our show because obviously police brutality in the States is a huge issue. But we always talk about how in Australia, in our own country, not one police officer has ever been even brought to trial for deaths in custody or anything like that.
No, that's probably true. I know when at the time of the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody, there were 2 police officers, I think, 2 junior constables in South Australia out of those 99 investigations into those deaths. 2 people were charged with minor breaches of internal regulations, and I think the total fines were $75 for a $50 million Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody. So economically it was a disaster, you would say, if you invested $50 million and got 75 back.
Right.
But on a serious note, Aboriginal people were just devastated that there were 99 deaths investigated, and that's what come out as a result of it. So many deaths were just then recorded as deaths by misadventure. You know, you had people hanging themselves from doorknobs. You know, you'd have an extraordinary constitution. Even though it is possible to hang yourself from a doorknob, but you'd be an extraordinary human being to be able to do that to yourself till you died. So, you know, that's what happened. And look, for years I was a very angry young man about that. You know, I was pretty angry about what had happened to me. And as part of the political struggle, people are still angry, you know, because justice hasn't been done, and people know that. But at the same time, what was concerning to me, and it took a long time, I didn't just sort of leave Nyngan and arrive here and say, oh, well, you know, not every police officer's like that. It took years. And I can remember it was all, I reckon I was around 28 when I sort of thought, well, you've actually got to create a good experience.
Yeah.
So that you've got something to balance that up with, you know. And so, you know,
Well, to be reminded that not all is lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And look, and you've got to draw on the good experiences of things, you know. Like today, when I was at Dubbo Airport, for example, a guy by the name of Angelo Pipos was on his way to Sydney. Now, Angelo's father, George Pipos, owned the little cafe in Brewarrina. Now, that family, and probably, you know, Angelo's grandfather was probably the bloke that left the light on in front of that cafe until every Aboriginal person was taken home to the mission at night. And when we went in there as kids to get some chips, we'd get 3p worth of chips or 3 cents worth of chips. And you come out with $1 worth because he loaded you up that big. Non-Aboriginal kids are going, they get 3p worth, and that's what they got.
Yeah.
You know? So there was a really good relationship.
So the Greek family were good to the Aboriginal community?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And they're the experiences you've got to draw on because they're the examples of what you're trying to achieve when you talk about reconciliation or bridging the gap.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps.